Is Ferris Jay, and today I am with the lovely Rachel Windsor-Knott. Hello, Rachel.
Good morning.
Good morning. It is lovely to have you here. Now, I met you earlier this year, it was, at the Animal Energy World Conference, and you were speaking there on Zoopharmacognosy. And I would love you to tell us all more about that today, because I was fascinated by it.
Sure. Thanks for inviting me, by the way. This is a new experience for me. So Zoophamacognosy, wow, what can I begin with? If I break the word down, first of all, it'll give you an idea of what it means. So it comes from ancient Greek, and zoo is animal, pharmaco means remedy, and then gnosy is knowing. So what it is it describes an animal's innate ability to self-medicate on medicinal plant compounds. So all animals have this ability. And it's been around since the dawn of time. We've just given it a name, basically. So zoopharmacognosy is the innate ability, and I'm a practitioner in applied zoopharmacognosy, which very simply means because domesticated animals haven't got the freedom to roam, I bring the compounds to them, and then they guide me as to what it is they need. So it's a really powerful tool. It gives animals the opportunity to guide their own health and well-being, which is why I love it, because it's not about us, it's about them.
I find that aspect really fascinating, and to me it seems that they haven't lost that innate knowing about what's good for them that we as people have, which is why it's not so easy for us as people to know what's good for us. Is that really the essence behind it? They're still tuned in.
Absolutely. And I think we do to a degree have that ability, like pregnant women, for example, they get cravings, don't they? So that's the body crying out for something that is lacking on some level. So we do still have that ability to a degree, but I think the reason animals are so good at it is because their primary sense is scent. They interpret their world through scent. Mm-hmm. And so when there's an imbalance in the body, for example, I don't know, let's say there's a bacterial infection, the animal will innately be drawn to plants which contain antibacterial compounds, and this is through scent. So basically their olfactory receptors adapt, so they're more drawn to these plants. So yes, you figure in a dog, they've got something like the part of their brain that's devoted to scent is 40 times larger than ours on average. Wow. And they've got something, I think their scent receptors, we have, again, this is just an estimate because it varies, because obviously you've got Chihuahuas and then you've got Great Danes. So they say we have about 10 million scent receptors, whereas a dog has on average 280 million. So wow. Yeah, so they're kind of ahead of the game, really, aren't they?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm curious, how did you find out about this amazing world of zoopharmacognosy?
Yeah, it was, I stumbled across it really, and I was training in dog behaviour. So I'd been working with dogs for a while. I'd worked at Battersea Dogs Home. I'd run a dog boarding business in our home, and I was just really wanting to understand what makes a dog tick. I wasn't interested in training as such. I more wanted to understand the emotional triggers that were leading to the behaviour. So I was training with Sheila Harper, who's an international dog behaviourist, and I was really struggling with one of my dogs who had some health issues. And I'd been to the vets, and they said that he has allergies, and that basically we need to go down the route of immunotherapy, steroids and antihistamines. And he was only 18 months old. And I just as much as this is not a substitute for veterinary medicine, it's complementary. I just didn't want to go down that route because he already wasn't in very good health. So Sheila Harper said, oh, I've been training with this lady called Caroline Ingraham, who is the pioneer of applied zoopharmacognosy. And when she explained it to me, I thought, how have I never heard of this before? This is mind blowing. So I rang Caroline, and Sheila had brought Caroline in to come and do a workshop. I was just completely blown away. When you find something and you think that makes sense, that completely is the missing piece I've been looking for. So it blew my mind. So I had Caroline come round, and she worked with all 3 of my dogs, and they all responded completely differently. And then I continued on to train to become a practitioner, because it's just so empowering for me as someone that has animals in their life, because I feel that I can help them. I can ask them, what is it, on a daily basis, is there anything you need? Because my dogs are all older now. So one in particular, sometimes I think she has pain going on, and she's not limping, but I can just notice there's a shift in her. And what she'll do, she'll go and lay next to the box of remedies, and I know that's her saying, Mom, I need something. Can you get the oils out, and I'll select what it is I need. So yes, in a roundabout way, that's how I learned about it.
Fantastic. And how do the animals select what they need? Do you lay everything out in front of them and they just go to what they resonate with the most?
Yeah, do you know what? It's a really good question, that, because I'm learning all the time, and every animal is completely unique on how you approach it. So we'll talk about dogs, because that's what I work with the most. Some dogs are, I arrive with the box of remedies. So it comes in the form of essential oils, herbs macerated in oils, fatty oils, dried powders, and so on. And basically, some dogs will come straight over and put their nose in the box and start selecting. Others find it quite difficult, I think, because they've never been given a choice before. So they find it really overwhelming. So you have to work very slowly. But the key is choice. So because it's individual. So for example, say there's pain going on. You don't just offer the one remedy for pain. You would offer a number, and then they will indicate which one it is they need, either by coming towards the bottle, or it can just be a really subtle signal, like they sit down, or they blink, or they lick their lips. Some are really obvious and will literally lift their leg up and point and say, I need something on me topically. It's amazing, and it really opens the lines of communication. Because when they're not listening, then they really start to communicate, which is amazing. Wow. So that is very important, that observation is the most important thing, because dogs can be so subtle and you can miss it. You can really, if you're not observing with all your senses, you can really miss what they're saying. And I think for some dogs, it's such a big deal opening up to speak. Here's Baxter.
Hi, Baxter.
He's obviously wanting to speak too. It's such a big deal for them to open up that you have to really just be very sensitive to that. Make sure you really are listening. So yeah.
Wow. And there was something you said in your talk at the Animal Energy World Conference that really struck me, that I hadn't thought of before. When most people think of helping their animals with, say, herbal remedies or something, they would think, oh, well, this remedy, this thing, so I will go and put this dose in their food. And I loved how you explained to me how there is a better way for them to choose than you choosing for them in that way.
Yeah, absolutely, Ferris. And I think I think it's a shift in our way of thinking, really, because we love our animals, don't we? We want them to feel better. And you read on the internet, for example, spirulina, and there are all these things that, they're great for dogs. And people think, oh, well, I'll just add it to their food. So it's coming from the right place. But actually, I always have spirulina in my kit because it is a powerful remedy if it's needed. But if it's not, then you're removing the choice by putting it in their food. So that's the key. That is the key, because they choose what they need, and they choose their dose as well, because some days they may need it, other days they may not. So yeah, it's really important that I kind of do it in so I have their food and I have their water, and then they have like a little smorgasbord of remedies that I know typically all three of my dogs select. So throughout the day, they can just go and take a little, whatever they need. But actually, an interesting point on that, one of my dogs doesn't go and self-medicate if it's out in a bowl. It's really strange. I always have to, and maybe it's a nurturing thing, I always have to have it in my hand. It's really, really interesting. So she can have, for example, it's arnica that she's taking at the moment, which is selected commonly by animals that have arthritis and pain. So she'll indicate that she wants it, and I'll put it in a bowl, and she won't take it. She only take it from my hand. So you again, it's just working out what that individual dog's needs are, and that's Bax walking under the table at the moment.
Yes, that's fine. No, that is interesting, because I know with my cats, one of them in particular really likes coconut oil, because if I ate something with coconut oil, he would take some. So I actually have a plate. He won't take it out of the bowl, but he will take it on a plate, and he will now come in and ask me. He will look at me and he will look up, because I keep the coconut oil on the counter, and I will give him a spoonful onto his plate when he wants it.
Isn't it? Yeah, our little cat. Well, interestingly, actually, after his when he was a kitten, so we had his course of vaccinations, and he really wanted coconut oil after that. So what was going on, I don't know, but he just needed it to support his body. And he hasn't taken it since. But it's just interesting, isn't it? So when I say it's not a substitute for vet medicine, whenever I do have to take my dogs to the vets, I always make sure that I support it with this as well.
Yes, that makes sense. And that's exactly what I say when I'm doing EFT with people. It's not a substitute, but it is a great support. All these different ways of supporting our animals. It's just giving them those extra layers of care and extra layers of support that they can choose.
Yeah.
Now, I have another question about the Zoopharmacognosy. Is there much of a difference between dogs and cats? Because my perception has been, when I've just tried little remedies I've had at home, a lot of the time the cats just look like they really couldn't be bothered. Is there a general trend in difference between dogs and cats?
I think cats are a lot closer to nature still, aren't they? And they're very clear on what it is they want. Dogs are a bit more subtle, but with cats, you tend to work more with inhalation. So it's very rare that a cat will take essential oils. So if you're working with essential oils, you have to, and I think it's probably important to say at this point, that you have to be very careful when working with them, because particularly with younger cats, when they have that enthusiasm and they charge towards something. So if they get it on them, because they haven't got the enzyme for breaking down the compounds within the essential oil isn't as powerful as other animals, so you just have to take care that they don't actually touch the oil. But when they know it's there, then they guide their dose. But cats, they're just quite clear. You have to work quite sensitively with them, because obviously they're very sensitive to poison. So if you were to get something out that was high in phenols, for example, as the first oil, and they didn't need it, you'd really completely damage the trust, because they think, why are you trying to poison me? So I tend, when I'm working with cats, I tend to start off with a little herb garden. So I just get out, a bit of catnip, a little bit of valerian, some chamomile flowers, and just see what it is they're just amazing, aren't they, cats?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are. And that is another point, talking about poison. Something I was curious about is that occasionally you hear of dogs and cats that get poison. And I'm thinking especially of cats sometimes eating household plants that are poisonous to them. And that has confused me in a way, because I think, but if they're so sensitive and they know what's good for them, do they sometimes take something that actually is poisonous to them?
Yeah, it's a good question, that. And I think that is, so there are lots of theories on why that happens. I think with the plant issue, with cats particularly, the stories that you'll hear about will be plants that come from countries that cats have no evolutionary history.
Yeah.
So they haven't developed the detection mechanisms for them, and therefore they haven't developed the mechanisms to break down those compounds. So, and the other thing is with, for example, horses eating acorns that are high in tannins, because a lot of our domesticated animals are restricted, they're not able to sequentially select, which basically means some animals will take plants that contain a compound to resolve one problem, but then they need to select another one to deal with the toxins within that plant. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
And obviously, and other things are coated in sugar. Some things are disguised by sugar. Yeah, there's lots of different reasons. But and I think going back to the cats again, if you Google cats and essential oils, you'll see a lot of warning signs. Don't put cats and essential oils don't mix. And number one, there's no scientific papers to actually back any of this up, that cats and that they can do any harm. But more importantly, I think it's the fact that we use these diffusers, don't we? We have these to make our houses smell nice, and sometimes cats can knock them, and then the oil will drop onto the cat. So that because they haven't selected it, it's on them. They're licking it to get it off them. They're poisoning themselves. So again, it's about choice. It's about listening to them and respecting their choices.
Yes, absolutely. And also, to be clear, especially with, I know their systems work differently from dogs, that it's not recommended for them to ever ingest essential oils, just so people are clear on that.
Yeah, absolutely. They only ever inhale, and inhalation is so powerful because it works on, it has a direct route to the brain, so it works on a physiological level. So inhaling an essential oil can ease pain, it can dissolve kidney stones, it can work on so many different levels. So yeah, we think it doesn't, you can't get the human brain around that, can we, sometimes? But it is, yes, you see a dramatic change simply through inhalation very often. Wow,
that's amazing. Yeah. And I have so many other things I could ask you about it. But I do, if people want to find out more about zoopharmacognosy and using it with their own pets, and you work with cats, dogs, and horses mainly, don't you? So you run workshops now, do you, for people wanting to know more?
I do, yeah. So I run self-interest workshops. So just, I think, because I want this to become, because it's still one of those subjects that's not that well known. And I think because it is so empowering for the animals, and it's something that anyone can do. If they understand the basics, they can work with their own animal. So I hold workshops where in the morning we talk about zoopharmacognosy, the history, how it works. And then in the afternoon, two people bring their dogs and they get to see it in action. So they get to see the animals self-selecting, which is, I get a lot of skeptical people come along, which is brilliant, because they really see the change. Dogs come in quite stressed. It's a strange environment, strange people. and they just want to engage. It's almost like they forget that anybody else is there, and they just want to engage. So I think it's to actually see it in action is quite powerful. But there are other people. Caroline Ingraham, who's the pioneer, she you can train as a practitioner through her. And she has also written a book called How Animals Heal Themselves. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can buy that on Amazon. So yeah, there's lots of different ways you can learn about this, and I think it's important. It should be accessible to everybody. It's not one of those exclusive therapies. You know, it's something that all animals can do. We just need to tap into the knowledge really and understand what's happening and how we can help them.
Yeah, and one thing I loved about hearing you speak about it at the conference is how natural it is and how practical it is. I'll share that you did a little experiment with everybody there. You had, I think it was licorice, you had a herb, and you got different people to taste. Yeah, lovely, I love licorice root powder. You got different people to taste it, and it was a wonderful experiment of seeing dosage, how much people needed. And I was fascinated by the fact that the taste would change for them, that even as people, we are still sensitive enough to know when we've had enough. It was fascinating that the taste changed, and people are like, okay, I've had enough, I don't want any more after one spoon or two, and then somebody looked like they could eat the whole box.
I love that experiment, it especially for the people that are a little bit skeptical, because some people have to physically experience it themselves. And I know when I was learning, I was like, you know, I don't really get this. I had to feel it for myself. And I mean, for example, I've got a bottle of peppermint here. I've had a really, really rubbish cold. I've just had the lurgies, so I've been inhaling eucalyptus, bay laurel. Oh my God, it smells so good. Peppermint. And it's just, so they're antibacterial, they're antiviral, they help them, you know, the inflammation of the mucous membrane. So I think when you physically feel it happen for yourself, it falls into place.
Yeah, I think that was just a really lovely exercise. So I would encourage people who are interested, who could get to you, to get a taste of it in person. I think it really brings it to life, and it was an absolute pleasure seeing your talk at the conference, which is what inspired me to reach out and interview you so more people could find out about this. And you work one-to-one as well in the UK?
So, sorry, you cut out a bit then, Ferris. What was that?
And you do private sessions for people and their pets with the Zoopharmacognosy?
Yes, I do indeed. So I offer one-to-one consultations. I do travel, and if people, you know, if there's a number of people in one area, I definitely would travel. Along with the workshops, and I've now started doing lots of talks. So I've done a couple of talks at the Blue Cross recently, and they've been really blown away by it, because a lot of the rescue centres are starting to understand there's more to what they can offer than just behaviour training. So the local Blue Cross Centre are developing a sensory enrichment garden where they're going to plant some trees so the animals can go out and, you know, just calm themselves down a little bit and be in nature. So I live a very varied life.
That is amazing. I love the sound of that project with the sensory garden for animals. That is fantastic. And if people want to find you and find out about your workshops or your individual work, your website is www.myanimalmatters.co.uk.
That's correct. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Very good. And what parting nugget of information or wisdom would you leave people with, or a little story you might want to share about the Zoopharmacognosy in action?
Yeah, I think, well, actually, I don't know if you can see, I've got a picture here. I don't know if you can see. Now, if I go like
yes,
that.
I can just see.
So this is my inspiration for what I've been doing. So on this side, this is Baxter, my Weimaraner. This was him when I first got him. I don't know if you see, he's completely pink. He's pink in the skin, and his claws are quite yellow, and he's kind of thin and just looks a little bit scrunched up. And then this side is him now, which to me is, he's just a completely different dog, and he's done that himself. I haven't intervened. He's completely healed himself from the inside out, and that's, our relationship has just, it's on a whole different level, because he communicates so beautifully with me now. So I think if anyone's just wanting to enjoy, for their animal to enjoy better health, or just to even bring their relationship closer, this is a great tool.
I so agree. I think it's a wonderful form of communication with your animal. There are lots of different ways. I do find that with the EFT tapping as well, it helps bring people closer together and understand. And I think this especially is, I think that the Zoopharmacognosy especially gives our pets a voice again, that they can almost teach us as they heal themselves, and we just witness them. Like you say, we don't have to intervene. They know, and they get to have their voice. I think it's an amazing modality, and I'm so glad that it's becoming more well known.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfectly said, Ferris, perfectly said. I think the other thing, the one other thing I'd say is it very much gets to the root cause, because with Baxter, all that on the surface, all that pink skin, we were just gonna treat his allergies, what was appearing on the surface, but actually there's obviously a lot going on internally. And he was taking a lot to detox and to cleanse his system, which he does still do to a degree, for whatever reason. But it means that he's maintaining a level of health that he would not have had if he hadn't been able to address the root, and we'd only dealt with the symptoms. So I think that's the other beautiful thing about it.
I agree. It gets straight to the root cause. You're not just concerning yourself with what's on the surface, because we don't know what lies beneath it. And I suppose the beauty is we don't even ever have to know. If they take what's right to make them right, it doesn't matter what was wrong in the first place, which is also amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you ever so much. It has been an absolute pleasure talking with you. And your website again is www.myanimalmatters.co.uk, so people can go there, find out more about the Zoopharmacognosy, and try it with their own pets. I would love to hear, if people do try that, what experiences they have with their pets.
Fabulous.
So thank you again.
Bye.
Okay, bye.